Have you ever wondered why some people stay focused while others give up at the first sign of struggle? Why some succeed quietly while others chase shortcuts and stall? What separates the consistent from the chaotic? The answer is simple, but not easy. It's self-discipline. Welcome to this journey of mastery, where we explore the hidden strength that determines how far you'll go, not just in your goals, but in your character. If you've ever battled procrastination, temptation, or that voice telling you to give up, this message is for you. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe if you're committed to becoming stronger, wiser, and more in control of your life. Because this channel is all about helping you win the inner war and live with purpose. 1. Understanding the inner war. Every day we fight a war, not out there, but inside, between what we want now and what we want most, between comfort and growth. That battle is not dramatic or loud, it's silent. It happens in your thoughts, your choices, and your habits. This inner war is one that never fully ends. You could win today and still wake up tomorrow to face a new wave of resistance. The enemy? It's not laziness, not weakness. It's the seductive voice of comfort. It whispers, "Just this once. You've earned it." Or, "Start tomorrow." It sounds harmless, even rational. But that voice has one goal: to keep you stagnant. And stagnation, over time, erodes purpose. This is why people with potential often live lives of regret, not because they weren't talented, but because they constantly surrendered small daily battles. If you look closely, the war takes shape in hundreds of tiny decisions. Do I get up when the alarm rings or hit snooze? Do I confront my fear or avoid it again? Do I speak the truth or stay silent? These choices don't seem life-altering in the moment, but they accumulate into the life you ultimately build or abandon. Discipline is not about punishment, it's about alignment. Aligning your actions with your higher self, the part of you that knows success doesn't come from impulse, but from intention. To truly live with purpose, your actions must consistently reflect the vision you hold for your future self. Discipline is the bridge between desire and achievement. It's easy to confuse it with restriction, but discipline is the most profound form of self-respect. It says, "I will not betray myself today." The higher self within you already knows what needs to be done: the difficult conversation, the daily workout, the moment of silence instead of reacting emotionally. But the lower self craves ease and approval. Alignment means choosing to act from a place of truth, not convenience. And every time you follow through on that alignment, you reinforce your identity as someone trustworthy to yourself. The outer world may reward or ignore your efforts, but the internal reward is irreplaceable: peace, integrity, and inner strength. If you don't control your mind, someone or something else will. That's the war, and the first victory is awareness. Your mind is the battlefield, and the primary weapon is attention. In the digital age, countless forces compete for that attention. Algorithms, advertisements, entertainment, all carefully engineered to hijack your focus. If you don't learn to direct your thoughts, they will be directed for you. And with that, your actions, habits, and ultimately your life will be shaped by external manipulation. The first act of rebellion is awareness, recognizing when you're drifting, when you're reacting instead of responding, when you're escaping instead of engaging. Awareness doesn't mean perfection. It means you become the observer of your impulses rather than their slave. Once you develop this awareness, you can pause, reflect, and choose. That pause is the space where transformation happens. That's where the real war is won. 2. Delayed gratification, the superpower of the few. In a world obsessed with instant rewards, delayed gratification is rebellion. It's choosing long-term gain over short-term pleasure. It's resisting the easy thing now to become the powerful person later. Our society is built on speed. Fast food, fast likes, fast money. The faster something promises satisfaction, the more appealing it becomes to the impulse-driven mind. But this addiction to immediacy is a trap, one that leaves you emotionally bankrupt, mentally distracted, and spiritually hollow. Delayed gratification, by contrast, is the secret code of high performers, great thinkers, and resilient leaders. It's the ability to say, "not yet," with full faith that the wait will be worth it. This isn't just about willpower, it's about vision. When you can clearly see who you want to become, it's easier to say no to who you are today. Every impulse you resist today becomes a building block in the fortress of your future strength. Think of a seed. It doesn't bloom overnight. You water it, wait, trust the process. That's discipline. The same is true for building a business, getting fit, learning a skill, or healing emotionally. Everything meaningful takes time. But time alone isn't enough. You need patience, perseverance, and perspective. Discipline is the daily watering. You don't see results right away, and that's what makes it so mentally demanding. There will be seasons when it feels like nothing's changing and your efforts are invisible. That's when most people give up. But those who understand the rhythm of growth keep going. They don't demand results, they build momentum. A person who goes to the gym every day might not notice a change for months, but suddenly they're stronger, more confident, more resilient. The same is true for emotional healing. You journal, reflect, cry, forgive, set boundaries, and slowly your soul feels lighter. It's the small daily acts that compound into transformation. Without the willingness to delay gratification, you abandon the process before the breakthrough. Every time you delay gratification, you're telling your brain, "I'm in charge now." And every time you give in, you reinforce weakness. The choice is yours, and it compounds over time. The human brain is a pattern recognition machine. Every action you take either strengthens discipline or feeds impulse. These actions don't just impact your mood, they shape your identity. When you resist the urge to scroll, lash out, indulge, or procrastinate, you're teaching your brain that you're the master, not the servant. That's not just psychological, it's neurological. You're rewiring your brain to favor long-term thinking. But the reverse is also true. Every time you give in, your brain learns that it's okay to chase comfort over commitment. That pattern becomes habit, and habits become character. Your character, then, is a reflection of your most repeated decisions. That's why delayed gratification is more than a good idea. It's a superpower. Few practice it, but those who do rise above the noise, build lasting greatness, and gain true freedom. Because real freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's being able to choose what's best for you, even when it's hard. 3. Emotion is not the enemy, impulse is. Feeling emotions isn't weakness, but acting without thinking is. Self-discipline doesn't suppress emotions, it trains them. It teaches you to pause, reflect, and choose your response. Too often, people confuse Stoicism with emotional numbness. They think strength means feeling nothing. But that's not strength, that's avoidance. Real strength is feeling the storm inside you and still standing firm. Emotions are data, not directives. Anger tells you something feels unfair. Fear warns you of risk. Sadness signals loss. All of these are part of being human. The problem begins when emotions control your behavior rather than inform it. Self-discipline gives you the ability to experience deep emotion without being hijacked by it. It's not about silencing the heart. It's about letting the heart speak while the mind decides. In truth, every emotion is a message, but you're the one who chooses what to do with that message. Training yourself to respond instead of react, that's the difference between chaos and clarity. And that's what discipline does. It teaches you to listen with wisdom, not panic. Someone insults you? You don't lash out. You breathe, assess, respond wisely. That's strength. You feel fear before a big step? You still show up. That's power. Discipline gives you a moment of pause, a space where freedom lives. In everyday life, moments of choice often come disguised as small irritations or bursts of emotion. Someone cuts you off in traffic. Do you explode in rage, or do you breathe and move on? A colleague takes credit for your work. Do you retaliate, or calmly address it with assertiveness and grace? The emotionally undisciplined person is a puppet to their feelings, pulled in every direction, trapped in a cycle of reaction. But the one who cultivates discipline builds a gap between stimulus and response. In that pause lives their freedom. That pause is where power is born. You still feel the anger, but you don't feed it. You still feel the fear, but you don't freeze. You respond in a way that aligns with your principles, not your ego. And that's what separates fleeting control from true mastery. Discipline is not about silencing your humanity. It's about elevating it. When emotions knock, discipline answers the door. In that space, you either become a slave to your impulses or a master of your future. This is the core of self-mastery. What you do in that sacred space between emotion and action defines your life. If you let your impulses lead, you'll spend your life reacting, saying things you regret, making choices you can't undo, sabotaging what you're trying to build. But if you rule that space, even for a few seconds, you change everything. You shift from being a prisoner of the moment to the architect of your destiny. You stop letting external triggers dictate your internal state. This is why Stoics spoke of ruling the self as the highest form of power. It's not about controlling the world. It's about controlling the one thing you truly own, your response. When you master your responses, you begin to master your future. Because success, peace, relationships, legacy, they're all shaped in that split-second space where you choose who you are. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing a person can do.
4. Building systems, not just willpower. Willpower fades. Systems last. If you want to win consistently, don't rely on motivation. Build habits. Discipline becomes easier when you create an environment that supports success. Willpower is like a matchstick. Useful, but it burns out fast. When people fail, it's rarely because they're incapable. It's because they depended on fleeting energy instead of long-term strategy. You can't expect to wake up every morning with unlimited discipline. Some days you'll be tired, stressed, discouraged. That's when systems save you. Systems are the unseen structure behind consistent success. They automate behavior. They turn effort into ritual. It's not about being superhuman. It's about being strategic. Build habits that support the version of you that you want to become. Put reminders on your phone. Use apps that block distractions. Prep your meals ahead of time. Remove the decision fatigue and make good choices automatic. Discipline becomes sustainable when you reduce the friction to act. Systems don't make you less free and make it easier to use your freedom wisely. Wake up at the same time. Plan your meals. Block distractions. Schedule workouts. Automate your discipline. Make it harder to fail and easier to follow through. Routine is not restriction.
It's liberation. A clear plan frees your mind from the constant burden of decision-making. Every time you eliminate a choice, you conserve willpower. Instead of wondering what to eat, when to exercise, or how to manage your day, you follow a system that's already been decided by your best self. Want to stop scrolling endlessly? Delete the apps or schedule screen-free hours. Want to eat better? Stop buying junk food. If it's not in your house, it's not a temptation. Want to write more? Block off a daily writing hour and stick to it like it's sacred. The point isn't to live like a robot. The point is to make the right action so habitual that failure takes effort. You're not trying to fight laziness every day. You're designing a life where laziness has no room to thrive. You're making success the path of least resistance. Self-discipline isn't about grinding 24/7. It's about setting up your life so that success becomes your default, not your struggle. The hustle culture lies to us. It tells us to work harder, sleep less, and outgrind everyone else. But that's not discipline. That's burnout. True self-discipline is sustainable. It's not about brute force. It's about intelligent design. When your habits are aligned, when your environment supports your values, when your routines carry you, even on low-energy days, you've built something powerful. You've made success a default setting. That's when your effort becomes focused, not frantic. You don't need to push yourself to the edge every day. You've set up your life to carry you forward even when you're tired. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. Because discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. And consistency comes from systems. In the end, your future won't be built by rare moments of motivation. It'll be built by the systems you live in and day out. 5. The identity shift. Becoming the disciplined one. Real discipline goes beyond action. It becomes identity. It's no longer, I have to wake up early. It becomes, I'm the kind of person who honors his time. This is the pivotal transformation that separates short-term effort from lasting character. At first, discipline feels like effortful compliance. You're dragging yourself to do what you said you would do, fueled by motivation, fear, or a deadline. But over time, something deeper begins to happen. You stop thinking of yourself as someone trying to be disciplined and start recognizing that discipline is simply who you are now. The morning alarm doesn't trigger a debate anymore. It reaffirms your identity. You no longer battle against your bed because your mind already knows this is what we do. Identity-based discipline isn't about trying harder, it's about becoming aligned. You become the kind of person who doesn't leave things unfinished, not because you're forcing yourself, but because that would contradict who you are. Your values harden into daily behaviors. Your reputation, even with yourself, becomes sacred. And that shift brings internal peace, because there's no longer friction between who you want to be and who you actually are. You wake up, you act, you follow through, because that's your standard. No applause needed, no external motivators, just alignment with a self-image you've earned. You don't just avoid junk food, you become someone who fuels his body with intention. You don't just resist temptation, you become someone who lives with integrity. This evolution is subtle but profound. At first, you might count every calorie, hide the snacks, and feel tormented by cravings. You might white-knuckle your way through moments of weakness. But when discipline becomes identity, the struggle fades. It's not about restriction, it's about alignment. You begin to say things like, "That's not who I am anymore," and mean it. You walk past the junk food aisle not with bitterness, but with calm certainty. You become someone whose physical energy matters too much to be sacrificed for a 5-minute dopamine hit. You fuel your body to support your goals, your clarity, your ability to show up strong. The same goes for integrity. You stop wrestling with the idea of lying, cheating, or cutting corners, not because you're being watched, but because your conscience has been recalibrated. The temptation to betray your values no longer has leverage. You don't have to remember to act right. You simply do because that's the only behavior that aligns with your self-image. And over time, that integrity breeds self-trust. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop needing external validation. You start standing tall in your own internal approval, which is infinitely more stable than any applause. When discipline becomes identity, it stops feeling like sacrifice. It starts feeling like respect for the life you're building. The goal isn't to force discipline forever. It's to live it until it becomes who you are. The shift happens the moment you stop negotiating with your excuses. Every day you delay action by making excuses, you reinforce the identity of someone who avoids discomfort. But every time you honor a commitment, even when it's hard, you cast a vote for the identity you're becoming. Discipline becomes self-reinforcing the moment it stops being a choice and starts being a non-negotiable truth about who you are. Think about it like brushing your teeth. You don't wake up wondering, should I brush today? You just do it. Why? Because you're the kind of person who takes care of your hygiene. It's not an emotional decision, it's automatic. That's what identity-based discipline feels like. You don't have to feel like it, you don't need to get motivated, you simply act in accordance with your principles. The moment you stop entertaining the voice that says, maybe just this once, or you've earned a break, you become dangerous, in the best way, not to others, but to your old limitations. You start moving like someone who has outgrown excuses. You begin creating results consistently, without the noise of self-doubt or the pull of comfort. And people will notice, not because you're loud, but because you're consistent. You'll radiate quiet certainty. You'll become someone others look to, not for advice, but for example. That's the real shift. Discipline becomes the fabric of who you are, not something you do, but something you embody. And once you become that version of yourself, there's no going back. You've rewritten your story. The war within will never fully end, but you can win more battles than you lose. You can rise above distractions, desires, and doubts, and live as the master of your life. Self-discipline isn't a restriction, it's freedom. The freedom to choose growth, the freedom to build a future, the freedom to live on your terms. So if you're ready to fight for that future, take the first disciplined step. Subscribe, like, and commit to the path, because the real victory starts within.